So with earlier today with the New York Jets falling to the Dallas Cowboys 30-10, not surprising, and Zach Wilson struggling in this game throwing 3 picks, also again not surprising. It seems like it's starting to cause a little bit of a rift. And I'm not saying this is all, everything's falling down for the New York Jets, but it's a little bit concerning on both sides of talking about Breece Hall. More so, part of it being for him looking at for the player and also looking how they're using him. And for Breece Hall, it says, I only have 4 touches. That's why we struggled in the Cowboys loss. He's not wrong. Posted by NewJersey.com or TimeJersey.com. And to answer that, to answer that question initially, I think it is right. It's insane that he only had 4 carries, and we'll get that into a second when we compare game 1 and game 2 for both Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. But for this one, it was horrible. Now again, you look at Zach Wilson, he was struggling, and you know what you have in Wilson. He is not a strong quarterback, and what I mean by that is someone to really carry the team and lead it. He's not a Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen. I know some of those guys have struggled early on in this season, but they are not franchise guys that that can carry the team in the back when there's adversity. Zach Wilson is still relatively young, but at the same time too, he has fallen very short of the expectations of a second overall pick. Now, not all of it is his fault. Part 2, I don't think the Jets has done enough at the very least, specifically the offensive line. But to really help Zach Wilson needs to be the running game. And the fact that they only gave him 4 carries this game against the Cowboys, it's insane. I get a little bit further down the article. It says Jets running game struggles on Sunday's 30-10 loss to the Cowboys. Get the ball in his hands. Quote, I only had 4 touches. Unquote, Hall said after the Dallas held the Jets running backs to 24 total yards on 10 carries. Quote, that's why we struggled, but it is what it is. We just got down early today and kind of just abandoned the run. I feel like any team that type of stuff happens, that's how it is. You feel like you gotta get back in the game and stuff like that. It just slips away. So that's what it was. Now comparing to both games for the Jets week 1 versus the Bills, and of course earlier today week 2 against the Cowboys. So let's look at the Cowboys first. And you see it's pretty abysmal with the rushing stats. Zach Wilson was the leading rusher at 5 carries for 36 yards. And even then, it was a huge difference for the yardage between Zach Wilson and everyone else. Breece Hall only had, like we said, 4 carries for 9 yards or 2.9 yards per carry. That's not good enough. And you look at the longest run he had was 9 yards. So the 3 other carries weren't anything. Michael Carter, 2 for 8. Dalvin Cook, 4 carries for 7 yards. Did even worse than he did. And Ashton Davis, 1 for 4. But mostly we want to focus on really Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. And this was kind of the big dilemma coming into the season. When Dalvin Cook was first released, the Jets, towards the early on, and obviously towards the end of Dalvin Cook being a free agent, the Jets were a top team. And this was going to be very difficult for him to fit in. I made a few videos talking about it. But my concern definitely was how is he going to fit in this role with Breece Hall at the time you had Knights, Michael Carter, Abadenka, the rookie, which we haven't even seen yet from the play yet. But it was curious, especially between Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall, how they're going to split that, because Breece Hall is one of the most electrifying running backs, if you talk about for the younger running backs out there, and he displayed that on Monday Night Football against the Bills, and he showed that his rookie year. I honestly do believe if he did not tear his ACL, he would have went on to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was dominant on both sides with rushing, running the ball and also catching. He was a great security blanket for Zach Wilson, and it kind of tapered off after for Zach Wilson after Breece Hall got hurt. Why wouldn't you want to lead to that? Now I get the other point of it too, of being they want to be cautious with him because he's coming off an ACL injury. They don't want to overwork him, and that's why they brought in Dalvin Cook. And also too for a security blanket, just in case if something happened to Breece Hall, they already have a top quality back in Dalvin Cook already ready to go. But in this game, I get you want to split carries, but I don't see how Dalvin Cook deserves the same amount of carries as Breece Hall. If we look back to the week 1 in Monday Night Football against the Bills, even then he out-touched Breece Hall in carries. He had 13. Dalvin Cook had 13 carries. Breece Hall did 10. Now, Breece Hall did much more with his volume than Dalvin Cook, but the mere fact that they are leading towards Dalvin Cook in that game for more carries than Breece Hall. Now, again, once again, the only argument you can make is because of the ACL and they want to ease him back into it. But you can't have that, especially in a top quality back. And Breece Hall, again, one of the better younger running backs in the market, in the NFL, not in the market, in the NFL. Why would you want to lean to that? And he showed that on full display week 1. 10 carries, 127 yards. His longest run was 10 yards. Dalvin Cook, 13 carries, 33 yards. His longest run was 10. So you take that away, that one run away, and you can do the same thing for Breece Hall. But if you look at Dalvin Cook, if you take that 10 yards away, he had 12 carries for 23 yards. And if we add up the total, again, this is a very small sample size in 2 games. Breece Hall has had 14 carries for 136 yards and 1 touchdown, or 7.5 yards per carry. Now, the 12 is an outlier. Of course, you're not going to, there's no, it's being very rare for running backs to average that amount of yards per carry in a game. He went off in that one. So the numbers are going to be, a little bit skewed into being, I guess, a little bit, a little ridiculous because of that. But still, he averages 7.5 yards per carry through the first 2 games. Dalvin Cook has 17 carries for 40 yards, 0 touchdowns, or 2.1 yards per carry. Notice how Cook has 3 more touches than Hall, and yet Hall has almost 100 more rushing yards and one touchdown over Cook. And once again, I get the first game is a very big outlier with 12.5 yards per carry. But you look at the yards per carry, 7.5 to 2.1. That should be the notice enough. That should be the argument enough. And even just the rest of the stats. And once again, just leaning towards Breece Hall. I know you're worried about the injury concern, but to me, it doesn't seem like he has any drop off whatsoever. It doesn't seem like he's slow. He's slow, having a slow start to the season. He seems like he's picking off where he left off. Again, full display on Monday Night Football against the Bills. And for this one, we did not see that for the Jets, and that's a disappointing part. And I do agree with them, though it is a little bit concerning that he would come out and say that because of just, again, does this have cracks into the Jets now? Because there was a ton of hype coming in for the Jets with Aaron Rodgers and the Super Bowl contenders. Of course, you had Hard Knocks, and it all went away after Rodgers got hurt in 4 plays. And now does it seem like the pressure is starting to be on for the New York Jets because the rest of the game, even though they won against Buffalo, Zach Wilson did not look that great. He did enough, and give him credit. He helped the team back to win the game, so you have to give him credit for that. But in all honesty, he's been who we thought he was. People want to get hyped because he was sitting behind Aaron Rodgers and he was mentoring him and so forth. But Zach Wilson is what we thought he was. Going back to last year in his rookie year, he is just an average quarterback. If you was looking at for draft capital where he was picked 2nd overall, he is a bust. He is a massive disappointment. In 2 games alone, Zach Wilson already has 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. 4 interceptions to the first 2 games. It's not good enough. And Zach Wilson was on full display for this one, struggling, and going to this game. You already know he was going to struggle in this one with already an elite defense with Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, and so forth. You wanted to lean into the running game, and the fact that they only gave Breece Hall 4 carries, and Dalvin Cook also as well 4 carries, and Michael Carter 2 carries. It's not good enough. You have to be in that range of double digits for them at least. 10. You saw again for this one. Even though I don't like the volume of Dalvin Cook having more, both of them were in double digits. Breece Hall at 10. Dalvin Cook had 13. This one, you only gave 4 carries, and when you go away from that, you set Zach Wilson into a bad opportunity to succeed because you know who he is. He can't carry the team. He needs to rely on everyone else to help him. And when you take away the running game this fast, it hurts him. And this way again, I don't blame. I don't like him coming out and saying that because it just kind of it's a little bit tricky. I mean, he is right, but I just don't think it's one of those things where you come out and say that because then people are immediately going to turn to is there problems with the Jets already? Is there cracks in the locker room and so forth? I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think it's going to lead to anything more than that. But it's just a little bit concerning that Breece Hall is getting upset with the lack of volume in this game. And is this going to be the foreseeable future for the rest of the season? Are we going to see where Dalvin Cook out carries Breece Hall in a lot of games? And that's good. And again, that's gonna definitely, I think, make those cracks in the locker room, especially for Breece Hall, rift, it's going to make it more and more because it's BS that they're leaning towards Dalvin Cook. And the other big thing, too, is they're paying Dalvin Cook more than Breece Hall. Simple as that. Dalvin Cook is making, $8 million this year? So you have to get your money's worth out of him versus Breece Hall, who is a second-round pick, who's making, a couple $1 million for the year, maybe even less than that. So I get you want to get your money's worth because you paid a lot more for Dalvin Cook for the salary cap as opposed to Breece Hall. But Breece Hall gives you the much better option. I have no problem if you having a 1-2 punch with Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall, but it should be pretty obvious that Hall should be the number one running back for the New York Jets. And the fact that they only decided to do 4 carries, and again, I know it got wild way too fast, as you see in the score, 30-10. It seemed like the defense pretty much had the clamp on the New York Jets for most of the game. It's a bad thing that they didn't give Breece Hall the opportunity, and we'll see if this is a problem. Again, we'll see if this is a problem in the rest of the season where they give Cook more carries than Breece Hall, or it comes games like this where they only give them the backs 4 carries. So we'll see. Guys, want to make a quick video on that discussion. I saw Breece Hall. I saw someone posted that Breece Hall did tweet something out. He posted 4 football emojis and was kind of talking about that. I don't see it on his Twitter anymore, so I don't know if he deleted it or it was just for something else. But we'll see how this story unfolds for the rest of the season. Again, a brutal loss, but we expected that because of the Cowboys, how elite their defense is, and of course the struggles at quarterback for the New York Jets. But we'll see where that leads to later into the season, if this is still a story or not for the New York Jets. As of right now, for going to look at the next few matchups, they have the Patriots week 3, Chiefs week 4, Broncos week 5. So the next 2 games, especially for the Patriots and the Chiefs, we could definitely get another scenario like this where they get low volume, and we'll see how Breece Hall responds to this. If it gets worse, or he kind of towards the end of the comment where it says it is what it is. But definitely, even after that, looking at you have the Eagles next before their bye week 7. So tons of challenging teams up ahead. We'll see how this plays out. Again, at least right now, I don't see it as a big problem. But when you look at the opponents coming up and you keep getting Breece Hall 4 carries a game, I think it's going to get much worse. But let me know your thoughts down below on the Breece Hall situation. Do you agree with what he said? Do you think he's in the right for saying this out in the public? Do you think it's wrong, out of place? Let me know your thoughts down below. With that being said, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.